Thank you, Father. The House will come to order. Great. The House will come to order. Please join Representative Rich in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Shebel, please call the roll.
Representatives, Amabile. Is she here? She's here somewhere? Okay. Bacon. Baisley. Benavides. Representative Benavides. Okay. Benavides is excused. Burnett. Bird. Bockenfeld. Basenecker. Bradfield. Caraveo.
Here.
Carver. Catlin. Cutter. Representative Cutter's excused. Doherty. Oh. Here. Duran is excused. Esgar. Exum. Here. Froelich. Geithner. Representative Geithner is excused. Gonzalez Gutierrez. Gray. Hanks. Herod. Holtorf. Hooton. Judah. Kennedy. Kip. Larson. Lindsay.
Here.
Lontine. Luck. Lynch. McCluskey. McCormick. McKean. Representative McKean. Let's see. Excuse? Okay. McKean is excused. McLaughlin. Michelson Janae. Mullica. Neville. Ortiz. Pelton. Pico. Ransom. Rich. Ricks. Roberts. Sandridge.
Here.
Sirota. Snyder. Soper. Sullivan. Tipper. Titone. Valdez A. Do you see him? Representative Valdez A. is excused. Valdez D. Van Beber. Van Winkle. Weissman. Williams.
Here.
Woodrow. Woog. Young. Which one's here, Young? Rep Young. is excused. And Mr. Speaker. Okay. 59. Yep.
With 59 present and 6 excused, we have a quorum. Representative Ricks.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that the Journal of January 31st, 2022 be approved as corrected by the Chief Clerk.
Thank you, Representative Ricks. Members, you've heard the motion that the journal be approved as corrected by the Chief Clerk. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no.
No!
The ayes have it. The motion is approved. Announcements and introductions. Representative Soper.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and it's an honor to serve with you.
Honor to serve with you too, Representative Soper.
Well, members, hopefully you have all looked at your desks and you see that there was a little something that I put on every member's desk. It's a red envelope, and it has a gold tiger on it. And that's because today is Lunar New Year. And as many of you know, my wife is Taiwanese, and in the entire time that I've served here in the legislature, we've always given something small to every single member here in the House of Representatives to celebrate Lunar New Year. Today, approximately 200,000 Coloradans of Taiwanese, Chinese, Korean, Tibetan, Vietnamese, and Singaporean descent are celebrating the Lunar New Year. For many of these Coloradans, the
Representative
biggest...
Soper, hold on one sec. Hey, members, please direct your attention to the well. Representative Soper.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I was going to say, for many of these Coloradans in celebrating the Lunar New Year, one of the biggest challenges they have is which parent's house they go to celebrate the Lunar New Year. It's much like our Christmas. Inside, I do want you to open it up, and I just will explain one thing about it. So it is the tiger. There are some coins here, and that's to mean prosperity for the coming year. I don't know how many of you know, if you are from the year of the tiger, I'm from the year of the rat, which may come as no surprise to some people. But I would like to finish this announcement by teaching a couple of words in Mandarin Chinese. So it's important that we say Happy New Year properly. So, Gong Xi Fa Tai. Very good. And that means Happy New Year. The other way you could say Happy New Year would be Xin Nin Kuai La. Very good. Actually, there's some very good speakers over here. So thank you very much, and Gong Xi Fa Tai.
Thank you, Representative Soper.
Hello.
Representative Pelton, Will, and Holtorf. Representative Pelton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We come down here this morning. I'm proud to be the House sponsor of the Capitol Commission, our Tuesday morning Bible studies, and Pastor Dan Files is here up in the balcony, so welcome.
Representative Will.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's an honor to serve with you.
Honor to serve with you too, Representative Will.
I just want to say that these Bible studies are so uplifting and so good for me. Makes me a better person, a better human being. And please join us on Tuesday mornings. I really appreciate Pastor Fowle. Thank you.
Representative Holtorf.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen, fellow colleagues. It is a privilege and a pleasure to sit and listen to Pastor Dan File. I will tell you, he sends nothing but a message of love, a love for each other in difficult times. The other thing that I hear in his ministry is how we must avoid contempt for each other, and avoid the most corrosive thing that is hate for each other. In a nation that is full of contempt and hate, let us be ambassadors of love and carry the good words that Pastor File brings, which is agape love, unconditional love. And I'm listening to you, good sir, and I hope all the people in this chamber are also listening. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for your leadership.
Thank you, Representative Holtorf. Representative Weissman.
Thank you and good morning, Mr. Speaker. I have no such sublime announcements as my colleague from Delta had, but I do need to announce today's Judiciary Committee business. Namely, we will have 3 sunset hearings where the good folks from Copper and Dora will come and talk to us about a couple of different matters. We will be in the Old State Library today at 1:30. Thank you.
I have a quick announcement. Representative Basenecker will replace Representative Duran on Business Affairs and Labor tomorrow, February 2nd only. Representative Michelson-Jeanette.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members of Public and Behavioral Health and Human Services. We are having 2 sunset review hearings today, one on Speech Language Pathology Practice Act, one on the Elevator and Escalator Certification Act, and we have 3 bills, House Bills 1052, 1006, and 1068. We will meet at 1:30 in room 112.
Okay, thank you very much. Representative Froelich.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Transportation and Local Gov inaugural meeting. We will get down to business at 1:30 in LSBA with House Bill 1043, 1103, and 1004.
Thank you, Representative Froelich. Representative McLaughlin.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Take a look at your calendar. We have our first Education Committee hearings on Wednesday and Thursday, and they're correct in the calendar, so see you there. Thanks.
Representative Montine.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Attention, members of the Health and Insurance Committee. Our first hearing is today upon adjournment in room 112, where we will hear House Bill 1005. See y'all there.
Thank you, Representative Montine. Representative Judah.
Good morning, members. I have a tribute. I asked that it be read at length.
Mr. Schiebel.
State of Colorado. The House of Representatives convened in the 73rd General Assembly hereby extends sincere recognition and honor to World Hijab Day, February 1st, 2022. Coloradans from a variety of backgrounds are united in certain foundational beliefs, such as affirming the inherent dignity of all persons, the right of every person to be treated with respect, and the right of all citizens to freely practice their religion. The hijab, a traditional veil which covers a woman's hair, has been very important to the history of Islam and is meant to promote dignity and respect for women while maintaining modesty and respect for religious faith. World Hijab Day was started by Nazma Khan and the World Hijab Day Organization, a day set aside for women of different cultures who do not normally wear a hijab to experience wearing one for the day. Its purpose is to encourage religious tolerance, cultural understanding, and international solidarity. Since its inception, women from all over the world have participated in World Hijab Day, and to combat prejudice, leaders in the American Muslim community are working tirelessly to show that wearing the hijab is a choice, a freedom, and a blessing. Wearing the hijab educates our fellow citizens about Islam in ways that are relevant and meaningful. The Colorado House of Representatives is proud to recognize Tuesday, February 1st, 2022 as World Hijab Day. On request of Representative Iman Judah, given this first day of February 2022, State Capitol Denver, signed Alec Garnett, Speaker of the House of Representatives.
Representative Judah.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning, members, and happy World Hijab Day. I know that World Hijab Day isn't a well-known or widely recognized day or holiday, but thanks to World Hijab Day organization, this is quickly changing. Today isn't just about honoring a Muslim woman's right to choose to wear the hijab, but to elevate the rights of all women around the world. And for Muslim women, the hijab can be a physical embodiment of her right to choose and the freedoms and her elevated status as a Muslim woman that everyone has the right to enjoy. Women everywhere are often faced with discrimination, having to work twice as hard. But it's a day like today, on World Hijab Day, that women can come together and honor what each of us holds true to our identity, to our experiences, and to have all of that recognized and respected. For women everywhere to be unapologetic about their birthright to enjoy the same freedoms as men. One day, in the near future, I will wear the hijab every day. And just like I do now, I will always welcome conversation about Islam. Friends, one of my most favorite things about being in Jerusalem is being present with Jewish, Christian, and Muslim women. All of us covering our hair as a dedication to our faith, and what a beautiful display of solidarity among women. And today, on World Hijab Day, regardless of how you identify, we can stand together with a shared belief that everyone is created equal. I want to remind everyone that tonight in HD 41 at the Colorado Muslim Society, we are honoring World Hijab Day, so all of you are welcome, 4 to 7 p.m., again in HD 41, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Representative Judah. Representative Pelton and Representative McCormick.
Okay.
All right. See no further announcements or introductions, we'll go to Majority Leader Escart.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to lay over House Joint Resolution 22-1004 until April 1st.
Seeing no objection, House Joint Resolution 1004 will be laid over until April 1st. Majority Leader Escar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to proceed out of order for the immediate hearing of Senate Joint Resolution 22003.
Seeing no objection, we'll proceed out of order for immediate consideration of Senate Joint Resolution 003. Representative Pelton. Or I guess, let me get back in the rhythm of this. Mr. Schiebel, please read the title of the Senate Joint Resolution 003.
Senate Joint Resolution 003 concerning the designation of Colorado 4-H Day.
Representative Pelton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I was gone yesterday, so we couldn't have this resolution yesterday to honor the 4-H. 4-H kids were here yesterday. 4-H has been very big in my life. I was a 4-H kid. My wife's a 4-H kid. I raised 2 4-H daughters, so and they will be raising 4-H kids also. So it's a very good organization. I like to tell people that's where our good future leaders come from. They learn the Robert's Rules of Order during 4-H club meetings, and it's their first introduction to quasi-government. So with that...
Representative McCormick.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move Senate Joint Resolution 22003 and ask that it be read at length.
That is a proper motion. Mr. Schiebel, please read the resolution at length. Members, there's a resolution being read.
Whereas the Colorado 4-H Youth Development Program is founded on the notion that youth are a vital resource for ensuring a better tomorrow and assisting youth as they prepare for the future is the 4-H program's central mission. And whereas the Colorado 4-H program is an integral part of Colorado State University Extension and is fundamental to the land-grant university mission. And whereas more than 110,000 Colorado youth with guidance of more than 10,000 adult and youth volunteer leaders currently contribute to their communities and gain practical experience in workforce preparation and career exploration through 4-H projects and activities. And whereas 4-H equips and empowers young people with essential life skills like confidence, courage, resilience, and curiosity, and prepares them for life today and tomorrow. And whereas 4-H serves every county and parish in America through a network of 100 land-grant universities and the cooperative extension system with 3,000 county offices nationwide. And whereas the 4-H organization is led by a unique public-private partnership that includes the National 4-H Council and the National Institute of Food and Agriculture within the United States Department of Agriculture. And whereas Colorado 4-H returns an estimated $45 million annually to the Colorado economy, plus $31 million in added value through volunteer time contributions, resulting in a tenfold return on investment based on the cost to conduct the program. And whereas a decade-long longitudinal study for positive youth development showed that, compared to their peers, youth involved in 4-H programs are nearly twice as likely to be civically active in grades 8 through 12, nearly twice as likely to make healthier choices, grade 7, nearly twice as likely to participate in science, engineering, and computer technology programs during time outside of school, grades 10 through 12, and nearly 4 times more likely to make contributions to their community, grades 7 through 12. And whereas participation in 4-H in Colorado is open to youth from the ages of 5 to 19 from all economic, social, and cultural backgrounds, now, therefore, be it resolved by the Senate of the 73rd General Assembly in the state of Colorado, the House of Representatives concurring herein, that the General Assembly salutes the Colorado 4-H program and its efforts to prepare Colorado's youth for the future by providing a wealth of opportunities for young people to acquire vital life skills such as decision-making, leadership, and communication skills in a hands-on friendly learning environment, commends Colorado State University Extension for its work in supporting the mission of the Colorado 4-H program, recognizes the invaluable contribution of the thousands of adult volunteers whose efforts enhance the 4-H experience for Colorado youth, and encourages young people in Colorado to get a head start on life by participating in 4-H activities, and that the General Assembly hereby declares Monday, January 31st, 2022 to be Colorado 4-H Day in recognition of the 4-H the 4-H program's effort on behalf of Colorado's youth.
Representative McCormick.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you all for your attention today. We know that thousands of young Coloradans are part of this valuable program, and they contribute to their communities, and they learn so many valuable vocational skills. I talked to a couple yesterday and learned that there are Cuisinarts skills that they can learn, more things than you would imagine. Archery, things that you don't necessarily think of when you hear about the 4-H program. They are able to explore their passions in a very supportive environment that values their contributions and works to build them up rather than tear them down. The amount of work and care that they put into their livestock is incredible, and we are all so proud of what they have done. This is really a wonderful program for our Colorado youth, and I'm so happy to be celebrating this program with you and these amazing youth, both today and yesterday. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Representative McCormick. Is there further discussion on Senate Joint Resolution 3? Seeing none, is there objection to a voice vote? Seeing none, the motion before us is the adoption of Senate Joint Resolution 3. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. Senate Joint Resolution 3 is adopted. Representative Pelton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask that the roll call be added as co-sponsors.
Seeing no objection, today's roll call will be added as co-sponsors. That brings us to House Joint Resolution 1005. Mr. Schiebel, please read the title to House Joint Resolution 1005.
House Joint Resolution 1005 by Representatives Herod and Judah, also Senators Buckner and Coleman, concerning recognizing February 1st, 2022 as Barney Ford Day.
Representative Herod.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move HJR 22-1005 and ask that it be read at length.
Mr. Schiebel.
Whereas the state of Colorado celebrates black leaders and their accomplishments during Black History Month, and whereas Barney Ford was born enslaved 200 years ago in 1822, escaped at age 26, and wrote to his enslaver, "If I can do better by myself than I can with you, I feel that I am at liberty to do so, for this is common to all free men." And whereas Barney Ford was one of the first 50 African Americans to arrive in Denver in 1860, and was soon called the King of Restaurateurs. And whereas Barney Ford suffered several significant business losses due to the Great Denver Fire, bankruptcy, and financial ruin, yet remained undeterred in his pursuits. And whereas Barney Ford was the first African-American Coloradan to serve on a grand jury, and he was nominated to the territorial legislature in 1873. And whereas Barney Ford was one of the territory's black leaders who petitioned for universal suffrage in the state constitution. And whereas Barney Ford impacted not just Colorado, but the nation with his far-reaching influence and pioneering effort for black civil rights. And whereas a stained glass portrait of Barney Ford hangs in the Colorado House of Representatives chamber in honor of his impact. And whereas Barney Ford's legacy remains important today as Colorado citizens take stock of where racism persists, and his legacy gives visibility to the people and organizations creating change. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the House of Representatives of the 73rd General Assembly of the State of Colorado, the Senate concurring herein, that we, the members of the Colorado General Assembly, recognize and applaud the contributions of Barney Ford to the great state of Colorado and recognize February 1st, 2022 as Barney Ford Day.
Representative Herod.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, you can be seated. I'm really excited to stand here with my colleagues from the Black Caucus, as well as our representative from Summit County, to speak on the legacy of Barney Ford. You know, it's so funny because when I started working here in the Capitol as an intern, I actually never realized that the stained glass above us was of such a prominent Black male figure in the state of Colorado. What an amazing thing to have a man of my heritage and background to have such high esteem in this place that we love and the place that we make these laws. And there's good reason for that. It's so fascinating how many folks do not realize, including ourselves, I think, the amazing contributions of African Americans to the state of Colorado. A lot of folks think of our contributions in the South or maybe in the East Coast, but not right here in our own home state. So this Black History Month, the Black Caucus is really excited to bring you a few history lessons so that we can all really understand and appreciate some of the few contributions of African Americans in this state. So Barney Ford, actually someone I learned so much about through my colleague, Representative Javon Melton, who held him as one of his heroes. Barney Ford was a civil rights pioneer and in a state known for pioneers. He was born into slavery in Virginia in 1822. Barney Ford taught himself to read and write and escape slavery at the age of 17. He made his way to Colorado with his wife through New York City, Nicaragua, California, and Chicago. In Chicago, he housed runaway slaves fleeing to Canada on the Underground Railroad. After leaving Chicago, he settled in Breckenridge, hoping to establish a mine. However, the territory of Colorado didn't allow Blacks to own claims to mines at the time. So he moved to Denver and began offering services to miners and settlers like cutting and styling hair. This led him to opening his first barbershop, a restaurant, and even a multitude of hotels. He eventually was able to invest in mines and became one of the richest Black men in the West, owning property up and down Blake Street. When Colorado was seeking statehood, he himself insisted that it only be granted admissions if race was not a factor in voting. Because he was such a powerful and prominent Black businessman, he was able to keep the state of Colorado from becoming a state until they made promises to allow African Americans to vote. Because he feared that Blacks who were free in a territory would lose their rights, all their rights, if they could not vote. When Colorado's first constitution failed to grant Blacks the right to vote, he himself successfully blocked Colorado's initial admittance into the Union. Did anyone know that fact? Over here, Soper. All right, for the history lesson. I thought it was pretty fascinating. After the Civil Rights War was won and the 13th and 14th Amendments were passed, he was key in pushing for Colorado's statehood, now knowing that Blacks would be able to vote in our new state of Colorado. He was actually the first Black person nominated and served on the territorial Colorado General Assembly. He served for one term. He was instrumental in the election of Joseph H. Stewart, Colorado's first Black state representative once Colorado became a state. With the support of Barney Ford in 1895, Rep. Stewart passed House Bill 715 into law, which prohibited discrimination in any hotel, restaurant, theater, or other places of public accommodations based on race. His legacy is not only in the stained glass above the chamber, but in every Colorado voter who has the ability to have their voices heard through the vote. He is a part of Colorado's rich legacy, and I'm so honored to be able to honor him today. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Herod. Representative Judah.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, we cannot say enough about Barney Lancelot Ford. He was a man light years ahead of his time. And I'm going to say a lot of the things that Rep. Herod said, but a man that came to Colorado to take up the fight for civil rights. He blazed the trail in Colorado to fight for every man's right to vote. He taught Colorado to be unapologetic about our beliefs that all men are created equal. and that we cannot waver on that even when tempted with statehood. And while his success to see every man had the right to vote be lamented into law, many of us are still fighting for those rights to be honored. We congregate in this chamber, and we do it as we bask in the light that shines down on us every day from his stained glass window that is dedicated to his legacy. He stands there looking over us in this chamber, a place that he once sat to make history as the first African American nominated to serve in the Colorado Territory Legislature. He paved the way for others to be represented, to serve, and to take their rightful place at the table. And to him we say thank you, and to him we say we are forever in your debt.
Is there further discussion? Representative McCluskey, and then we'll go to Representative Bockenfeld after that.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, members. I want to add my voice to honor Barney Ford today because of the incredible legacy he leaves in the high country for all of us in Summit County and the entire state. You know, it is one thing to celebrate Barney Ford's rich, amazing leadership, independence, spirit, and it is another thing to embrace that as a part of our day-to-day lives, how we act in our communities, how we show up for the jobs that we lead. The Breckenridge Heritage Alliance carefully takes pride in being able to share the home of Barney Ford and his wife, Julia, a Victorian home that celebrates a period of mining history in this state in a way that really opens the door to understanding how tough life was for folks in the high country, and particularly those trying to stake their claims and build their fortunes. What Barney Ford brought to Breckenridge and to this state is that fighting spirit, but on the front of civil rights and the fight against racism. He is a model for us in the high country, in my community, and I am proud to stand with my colleagues today as we launch Black History Month and talk about his contributions to not one part of this state, but to all of us here in Colorado. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative McCluskey. Representative Bockenfeld.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's an honor to serve with you.
Honor to serve with you too, Representative Bockenfeld.
I have a special connection to Barney L. Ford. Grew up in a town on the Mississippi River called Quincy, Illinois. A couple blocks from this huge house. And I learned in elementary school that my hometown was very much involved with the Underground Railroad during the early 1800s. And then I was a little surprised to find out that this huge house that was a couple blocks from my home that I walked by every day was the location where many of the slaves who came up the Mississippi River were held, fed, taken care of until they could move on to other places. Didn't give it much thought other than the folks in my hometown participated in helping out the slaves through the Underground Railroad, until I came into this chamber and I looked up and I saw this mural of Barney L. Ford, and what's this guy all about? I don't know anything about him, so I started doing some research. And what I found out is that he was a slave who was owned by a businessman in Ohio. The businessman leased him out to work on a barge up the Mississippi River. Barney L. Ford disembarked that barge and escaped slavery in my hometown. And the citizens in my hometown, and I'm only making an assumption here, helped Barney L. Ford, because I'm sure there was a network that was, and we know there was a network, Harriet Tubman, I believe it was, is organized it, knew that there was an Underground Railroad in my hometown. And those folks helped Barney Ford move on. And after doing that research and realizing that connection to the town, connection to the house that I walked by every day, I realized the importance of everybody involved and how the greatness of some people was made possible because of the people who paved the way for them to do the things that they were able to accomplish. So just wanted to tell you and bore you a little bit with my story. I do have a personal connection. I've emailed and texted my siblings back in Illinois and said, guess what? Took a picture of the mural and sent it back to them and told them the story about Barney L. Ford in Quincy, Illinois. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Representative Bockenfeld. Representative Exum.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today, as we begin celebrating Black History Month, where we acknowledge and reflect upon all the extraordinary ways Black Americans have shaped American history and made our country stronger, I am honored to be a part of this resolution celebrating Barney Ford. The more I learned about the man himself, Barney Ford, his life and accomplishment, the more genuinely impressed I am with him. The resolution we just read at length tells some history of his story, but not all of it. Barney Ford, who escaped slavery and moved to Chicago and became an up-and-coming businessman there, moved to Denver in 1860 and became an upcoming businessman here. But he moved back to Chicago in 1864 to protest after the Chicago Territory at the time changed the election laws to prohibit black men from voting. When Colorado first petitioned to become a state in 1864, Barney Ford opposed that effort because of the territory's discriminatory voting laws. After the Civil War, when in 1867 the U.S. Congress passed a new law preventing the states and territories like Colorado from denying voting rights to black men, only then did Barney Ford move back to Denver and become an even more successful businessman than he did before. The stained glass window of Barney Ford, which you have here in the House chamber, was added in 1976 during the centennial celebration commemorating Colorado's 100 years of statehood. The man who opposed the Colorado original attempt to become a state in 1864 because of the territory's discriminating voting laws was honored by that same state 100 years after it did finally become a state, because Barney Ford is the man worth honoring and celebrating. I encourage everyone to learn more about his life and legacy of Barney Ford than we've included in this resolution. You can learn more on the History Colorado website and even by visiting the Barney Ford Museum in Breckenridge. I am honored to be a supporter of this resolution. I encourage you all to support it too. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative Exum. Madam Speaker Pro Tem Benavides.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I just want to thank the Black Caucus for bringing this forward, because I was going to go back and sit down because this is sort of a thing on myself that I didn't know. But beginning, in the late 50s, early 60s, my dad would take us to the library every week on Saturdays. That's where we started our days. And we always went to the Ford Warren Library on 28th and High. And it still is there. And I always thought it was named for Barney Ford. And we learned about Barney Ford, but it really wasn't. It was named after Justina Ford, which was the first black female doctor here in the Denver area. But it was, Barney Ford was something, because I grew up in Northeast Denver, and so it was someone that we learned about and read about through our schools. So I know how important he was. I didn't know how important he was to the work that we do here, and his work on the territorial legislature, because I know that was important, because all of those laws carried forward to the state once we became a state. So I, again, appreciate this coming forward from the Black Caucus. So.
Representative Bacon.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And colleagues, I just want to give a shout out to the students of Barney Ford Elementary School in my district in Montbello. They wanted to tune in and also learn about their namesake for their school. As you all know, Black History Month actually started as Black History Week by Carter G. Woodson, and it's grown into a month-long celebration. But a main purpose of that is so that our young people can see themselves reflected in not only what they're learning, but their histories so that they can also see themselves reflected in the future. And so to be able to see a man like Barney Ford, who was able to overcome many obstacles, still become a successful businessman and a wealthy businessman is really important to our students. And so we wanted to end with that, just on the note that we have incredible opportunities to learn amongst ourselves, but so do all of our students, and how important it is for young people to be able to connect past to present to future, which is all encompassed in a very important principle in the African American culture called Sankofa, which we'll come back and talk to you more about later. So thank you very much for your time today. Thank you so much for support of the resolution.
Thank you, Representative Bacon. Is there further discussion on House Joint Resolution 1005? See none. Is there objection, Representative?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that we add the morning roll call as
We'll vote first, and then we'll come right back to you.
That's the thing we do.
Yeah, no worries.
Thank you.
No worries. Is there objection to a voice vote? Seeing none. The question before us is the adoption of House Joint Resolution 1005. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Joint Resolution 1005 is adopted. Representative Herod.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Now I move that the morning roll call be added as co-sponsors.
Seeing no objection, the morning roll call will be added as co-sponsors. That brings us to the end of the calendar. Further announcements and introductions. Representative Woodrow.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues, I have received approval from the Majority Leader to be excused during announcements and introductions this Thursday, February 3rd. I will miss you all dearly.
You know, there might be more work that day, but so approved. Representative McCluskey.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Joint Budget Committee will convene at 11 a.m. today, not upon adjournment. So join us, tune in, come for the fun.
Thank you, Representative McCluskey. Further announcements and introductions. Seeing Majority Leader, Representative D. Valdez.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Also, this evening, Airports and Aviation Legislative Reception from 5:30 to 8 downtown at the Sheridan. See you there.
Great. Majority Leader Escar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have a quick announcement. Members, I'm going to repeat myself as I did what I said yesterday, just to remind you all. Legislative Legal Services has asked me to remind you about the delivery of bills for this Wednesday's bill introduction deadline. That's tomorrow's deadline. Your finalized bills will be delivered to the front desk for introduction unless you have asked Legal Services to deliver you the bill instead. If you wish to have a bill delivered directly to you instead of the front desk, you must have that bill completely finalized with Legal Services drafter by 5 p.m. today. If your bill is delivered to you, don't forget to turn it into the House front desk no later than 4:30 p.m. tomorrow, right here. In addition, once a bill is delivered to the front desk or to you for any introduction, it should not be returned to Legal Services for any reason. If your bill needs changes, please make those changes by amendment after it's introduced. If you want to add sponsors, the easiest way to do so is to use the new electronic sponsorship program before your bill is introduced. The front desk staff can provide you with information regarding this process and can put you in contact with IT if you'd like some additional assistance. And as always, if you have questions about adding sponsors, please contact our amazing House front desk. Your Legal Services staff thanks you.
Representative Herod.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just wanted to add one thing. Rocky Mountain PBS is running a special on Barney Ford, and you might notice some familiar faces as they were filming for their documentary right here in this chamber last session. So you might look for yourself and let your family members know that there is a documentary on his great contributions. And of course, behind every strong black man is a black woman, and it speaks a lot about his mother and her contributions to his legacy as well. So I do recommend folks look into that. Additionally, the Denver Urban Spectrum is running a Black History Month special right now. You can pick up the Urban Spectrum really anywhere around Denver for free. This month they are highlighting Carletta Walls of the Little Rock Nine, who actually lives right here in Denver as well. The Black Caucus will be bringing you tribute and remarks every Friday during Black History Month. Next Friday will be on Blacks' contributions to the military. We do welcome all of our colleagues to come down and share their stories, as Representative Bockenfeld did, as we kind of go through the history of Black folks to Colorado. So thank you, Representative Bockenfeld. I look forward to sharing this month with you all. Thanks.
Thanks so much, Representative Herod. Majority Leader Escar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that the House stand in recess until later today.
Seeing no objection, the House will stand in recess until later today.